The worst thing you can do is panic and try to start doing a whole bunch of stuff just in case. Just trust the process. Hello class, I'm your teacher for today. My name is Miss Maria. Your regular teacher's sick, so we're going to just listen to records and play 7-Up all day long. Or you can go into Goalie Training Pro TV, episode, don't tell me, 29? 28? 28-ish. Not very good with numbers. Episode 28-ish. And this is for those of you who have not yet started your off-season training, because it felt like you had so much time in May, and then you thought, you know what, I should probably get some rest anyway. And then you went to the cottage, and then you dinked around, and now it's like, oh my God, it's the 12th of July, or whatever the date it is. And so the first thing you should do is a little bit panic. Yes, literally you should panic a little bit because you kind of dinked up. Then once you're finished panicking, you can't, beat yourself up about it and have a fit all the time. That won't help. So now you got to make a plan. You got to have a plan. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through a plan. And I think you probably have about, let's see, middle of July, middle of August. Say you have about, let's say you have 7-8 weeks before you're going to really be back on the ice with your team. And you don't have to email me to be like, my team's back on the ice the 3rd week of August. Okay, then just adapt. We're just for instance. So here's the big point. You cannot accelerate your training. You can't work twice as hard and get the same results. So instead of training for 16 weeks, you can't work twice as hard or twice as much in 8 weeks and get the same results. That will not happen. So put it out your mind. And in fact, it will really very highly increase your risk of injury, and not even necessarily injury in those 8 weeks, but injury even into the season by trying to do that, because you're overloading tissues and connective tissues too fast, too much, and you're creating weak links. And then that's where over time you get a problem. So you have to start with a base phase. So weeks 1 and 2 are going to be your base. And again, I know you want to you're like, oh my God, why was I so stupid? I'm just going to go hardcore. That won't work. So just pump the brakes, and let's just do it properly. So, and honestly, even if you were an NHL player who walked in the door right now, it was like, I have 8 weeks. This is what we would do. So I'm not trying to baby you. So you're going to start with, for mobility, you're going to start working on your good dynamic warm-up patterns. So, your walking quad stretches, your walking hamstrings, your down and backs, and working just on good mechanics and a little bit more dynamic stretching. You can still do some static stretching, but I think you get more benefit of focusing on the dynamic warm-up type patterns, because again, they are actual functional movement patterns. And your flows. So, like some of these flows that we do, we come back, and then we stabilize and we recover. Some of those patterns that incorporate movement and stability. So that's where I would start. In the gym with your strength training, you're going to do slow eccentric. So the eccentric phase of a lift is the lowering phase. So if I'm doing a split squat with my weights, this is the eccentric, and I would go down for about a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, up. Or we don't do a lot of biceps curls, but if you're doing a biceps curl, this is eccentric. 1, 2, 3, 4, up. So it's that lengthening the muscle under tension, which is what really helps your connective tissue get strong. Your muscles will get stronger too, but we want to get that connective tissue nice and strong, because if we just start smashing on the weights, our muscles get strong faster than our connective tissue. So again, we've created a weak link in our connective tissue, and we're going to start getting tendinosis, or be a little vulnerable to strains and tears and that kind of thing, which again, you don't want when you get on the ice. So slow eccentrics, just for your big lifts. Your stabilizers, let's just say you're doing like a rotator cuff external rotation. It's usually pretty slow anyway, but you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, But on your big lifts, your your squats, so your knee dominant, your hip hinges, your pushes, your pulls, they'll be a slow eccentric. And then of course working on just straight up core stabilization, like even planks, side planks. This summer, almost exclusively, I've been doing side plank from the knees rather than from the toes, because actually I'm going to hop down, Sarah, and show. Because, so when I say from the knees, I mean here, because our guy, like I want them holding to about 90 seconds, and when our guys get from their feet and they do it, and you ask them where they feel it, it's their shoulder that is killing them and giving them all the trouble. So we've been doing it from the knees so that our shoulder doesn't fatigue, but our torso gets a good stimulus, and then we can even go longer. And again, we just sort of do that in the early stages. We don't just keep adding time to that side plank. And then we're gonna go to stamina a little bit and just sort of build that base of stamina and also movement. So one of the exercises we use is a soccer field shuttle. And what that is you just go to a soccer field and you'll sprint the length of the soccer field, about 85% of your max speed. So not a full out sprint, about 85%, a good hard run. And then when you get to the end, you'll shuffle down along the width of the soccer field. Then when you get to the other corner, you'll turn around, you won't backpedal, and you'll do about an 85% sprint, the length of the field again, and then whichever way. So let's say I faced this way when I shuffled across the first time, then I ran down. Well, now I keep facing this way, so I shuffle back the other direction. When you're doing those shuffles, you're going to think about staying low in your legs and keeping your toes pointed straight ahead as you go. And you're going to think about opening and closing at your hips, not just kind of pushing using your hip rotators, but actually pushing as you go through. So that is what you'll do for week 1 and 2 of your base. Now, I've been working on my speed, my hand speed. One of the ways I work on my hand speed has been wax on, wax off drill, because I watched a couple episodes of The Karate Kid a couple times. So just want to see how it's been going. I think I'm getting pretty fast, but you guys can tell me what you think. So now we're on week 3 and 4. And again, the worst thing you can do is panic and try to start doing a whole bunch of stuff just in case. Just trust the process. Week 3 and 4, we're going to start looking more at strength at length. So for our mobility, that's going to mean some FRC techniques, which you've heard me talk about tons of times. It's basically where, again, I'm going to go down, Sarah, but so for example, if I'm here in my half kneeling adductor stretch, staying tall in my torso, I'm going to hold this stretch position for 30 seconds. Then I'm going to push my leg and my foot straight down into the turf for 30 seconds, generating as much force as I can, pushing down, keeping a good stable position. Then for the next 30 seconds, I'm going to almost try to lift this leg off the ground, or almost use the outsides of my hips to pull me into more of a stretch, again without losing my position here. And then for the last 30 seconds, I'm just going to relax. I'm not going to ease off, but I'm just going to relax and hold that position. So I'm generating strength at length. I'm putting my muscle in a lengthened position and generating tension. And we can do that with our hamstrings, with our hip flexors, all different positions. And I've shown you a bunch of those in the past. So now we'll start working in some of those FRC patterns in addition to the flows that we talked about in week 1 and 2. For our lifts, when we're in the gym, this week we're going to go to an ice, or these 2 weeks we're going to go to iso holds. So week 1 and 2 it was slow eccentric. This time it's going to be iso hold. So let's go back to our split squats. I'm going to come down into my split squat position, and here I'm going to hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then come up. There's a bunch of different ways we use those, but what I would suggest for you is you're going to do 2 reps. So 1, 2, and then hold for 5 seconds. Then you'll do 2 reps, hold for 5 seconds. You'll do that 4 times. And that, again, would be for your knee dominant, your hip dominant, your push, your pull. For core stabilization, we're going to get to more ground-based functional core stabilization using things like chops and lifts. So chops and lifts, you can use a bungee, you can use a cable, you can even use a free weight, but probably at this stage I'd rather use a bungee or a cable. So we can do a lift. So if I'm holding a cable here, a lift, staying nice and stable in my torso, not trying to rotate around. I can do a chop, coming across here, again staying stable. I can change my foot position. So this is going to put a little more load on my adductor. This is going to put a little load on my lateral hip rotator. I can get kneeling in line, and this is hard. It's hard to even just balance like this and do my chops and lifts this way. And then where we progress to, so not to start with, but progress to, we can do those single leg standing. And again, depending on which we're trying to work more, we can do the inside leg or the outside leg. So working that kind of core stabilization, but that also integrates your hips. Then in for our agility, for our speed and agility, we're really focusing on acceleration and deceleration mechanics. And not just straight forward and back, but a lot in the frontal plane. So, things that seem super simple, like, a lateral hop and stick, but learning how to stay level in the shoulders, how to stick that landing, how to stay in a power position. The number one thing for your speed, agility, and your stamina, especially in the frontal plane, is going to be staying low in your legs and building that just comfort in that position. The 2 camps I've been at the last 2 weeks, like I would be saying, hey, get low in your legs, so we were doing just that, like a lateral hop and stick. And I'd say, you want to be about this low in your legs. And then they would do it, and they would be here. And I'd say, get low in your legs, get low in your legs. And this would be the change. So it's like they're here, get lower in your legs, lower in your legs, bend your knee more. Get lower, and they're there. So then it would be like, okay, you guys tell me to stop when you think I'm as low as you were low. So I would get here, 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 and they'd be like, stop. So it's like, then they're not trying to not get low, but they feel like they're low because that's where their thermostat is set. That, oh, this is really low, but there's no power there. So practice getting low in your legs. So that's what you'll look for weeks 3 and 4. I think I'm recovered now. Let's see if I can go a little faster this time. Here we go. Getting very tired. So weeks 5 and 6. So again, we're trusting the process. Weeks 5 and 6. We're going to start adding in some plyos. Power isn't our focus. Kind of max strength is our focus, but we want to start introducing that power so that we've looked at our technique. Our technique's good because there is technique to jumping. So, if you're jumping, and just videotape yourself from the front and the sides and see what you do. If your knees kind of pinch in when you go down or hop up, that's a problem. You need to practice during this really short phase and clean that up. When you drop down, your heels come off the ground and your knees drive forward rather than sitting your bum back, that's a problem. You need to fix that. If you come down and your back is rounded, a lot of you get here, you don't bend your knees, but you bend forward at the hips. You're not developing power, and you're actually putting a lot of wear and tear on your body. And again, so making yourself less powerful and increasing your risk of injury. So we would do things like a box hop up onto like a 6 or 12 inch box. The reason we do a box hop up is to take away landing impact. So there's no sense at all, and I did a video on this, jumping on a box this high. That is a YouTube stunt. It doesn't make you a better athlete. So just don't bother, because it doesn't increase your leg power. It just has a little higher risk if you miss the jump, but it doesn't do anything for your leg power. So we use a 6 or a 12-inch box, just dropping down, up, and landing on the box with good mechanics, and then stepping off. If that all looks really good, then you would just go to a squat jump, right? On the floor, landing in the same spot, practicing those mechanics. That's all we're worried about in this phase. Then we're gonna do some max strength. So again, for your big lifts, your knee dominant, your hip dominant, your push, your pull, you would go about 4 reps. And this is for like someone who's training seriously, playing at a pretty high level. This isn't for a kid who's like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. This is for, people who are a little bit older going for it. So 4 reps for those, but again, like your stabilization drills, they'll still be higher, 8 to 12 repetitions of those, but for your primary big lifts, about 4 reps. You'll also start to introduce your Olympic lifts if you know how to do them. We use hang clean. We don't do any clean from the floor. We don't do any snatch from the floor. We actually don't really use snatch much anymore at all, because people have trouble getting that shoulder range, and it's such a high velocity thing that you kind of can get there, but it can really yank on you. So we do mostly hang clean, but start adding that in. Again, it isn't our focus this phase, but I want you getting used to it, kind of finding your working weight, refining your technique, and so that'll be like 3 sets of 3 reps, something like that. And then also we'll introduce a vertical component to your agility. So that would be from, I'm going to pop down, that might just be like your alternate knee recoveries, or that might be like a knee recovery lateral push to a knee down, or whatever. But we're going to start introducing some of those elements as well to get that up and down, which is just exhausting, and you guys don't really work your speed and your stamina in that way very much. So that's week 5 and 6. Now we're going to head into week 7 and 8 and get you all geared up for the season. So week 7 and 8. Again, trust the system. If you've done the work consistently, you'll be fine. Don't play basketball during week 7 and 8, where you're going to sprain your ankle and miss tryouts anyway. So we're going to start power emphasis. Rate of force development is our focus in this one. So we're going to start with our Olympic lifts if we know how to do Olympic lifts. If we don't know how to do Olympic lifts, we're going to waste a whole bunch of time trying to figure out how to do cleans. You can just do a squat jump. You can do a dumbbell squat jump, but don't go heavy. The heaviest, even like the high level high school guys and college guys, the highest we go is 20 pounds to hold. So you might be holding 5 or 10 pounds, because again, the idea with power isn't to make it as hard as possible. It's rate of force development. So how fast can I develop force? We have a little widget that we use in here that goes on the bar, and it measures the acceleration of the bar when our athletes do cleans. So what we find is sometimes they'll be like, yeah, that wasn't that hard, so I'm going to put more weight on it. And they might just put 5 or 10 pounds on each side, and then on their next set, their acceleration is slower. They're not creating as much power, so then they actually need to use less weight on the bar. So it's nice, because if you ask them subjectively, they're like, no, that was too easy. But if we look at it objectively, and what we're trying to do is maximize power output, and we can see that actually you just dropped your power output by adding more weight. So we would start our workout with like a dynamic warm-up and all that, but then we would start with an Olympic lift, And then into a plyometric, like a body weight plyometric. Plyometrics are always really low volume. Probably the most we do is 6 reps at a time. Your Olympic lifts would be like 2 reps, and then we would go into a plyo that might be 4 reps. And then lots of recovery. So you want to have about 3 minutes recovery before you're back into your next set of Olympic lifts. And that could be mobility, that could be juggling, you know, or like hand-eye work. It's not just like hang out in the water cooler kind of thing. Your agility training, it's going to have a read and react element to it. So whether that's watching the coach, you know, forward, back, or read the numbers that I'm holding up, or, you know, what's the sum of my hands, what sum that number, some element of read and react goes into your agility. And then with your stamina, there could be stops, starts, iso holds, vertical agility. So just like if you're on a penalty kill, you know, when you're gonna say you've got to move, and then you've got to hold the post, hold the post, hold the post, but then move, then drop into your RBH, you know. So we're gonna try, again, not trying to make it exactly what you do on the ice, not smashing into the butterfly, not smashing into your RBH, but trying to get those elements of training, of holding, because sometimes just, yeah, holding is worse than being able to move. So we're adding in all of those elements, and they don't go for very long. You know, a full circuit might last, you know, 60 seconds. We might make it so that it's hard for about 60 and then medium for about 60, so that we get that longer duration. But again, even on a penalty kill, you know, you usually, hopefully, get a few little breaks in there. So, so that's your 8-week plan. The big message: you can't go from 0 to 100. Even if you feel like it is working, it's not the best way. So there's good, better, best for everything. Even if you feel like, no, I really like it, I'm just telling you, it's not the best way. Follow a system, build that foundation, because really, we want to be performing well for tryouts and when the season starts, but we want to build that foundation that's going to put us through the whole season. So we aren't one of those guys who starts really great, you've all seen it, starts fantastic, and then the backup guy takes over your spot or whatever. Yeah, I think that's it. Follow the system, trust in your training. If you want it all, like I've mapped it all out for you here. If you want to know, well, I don't know exactly what exercises to do, or the tempos, or how many repetitions, or exactly how to do all the exercises, then you can check out Shutout Academy. It's $1 to try it for a week, and it's all mapped out. Like, this is exactly what you do. The nice thing about it is there's a private Facebook group where you can ask questions, and I'm on there pretty much every day answering your questions. So if you're like, hey, you know what, I just saw your Goalie Training Pro TV episode on what to do with 8 weeks. I wanted to get the whole, you know, I don't want to go down the wrong path. I wanted to get it all laid out for me. How should I progress? And I'll lay it out for you. Hey, do a couple weeks of May, a couple weeks of June, and we'll walk through it like that. So that's all I got for you today. Panic a little bit, go in the box, sit down for 2 minutes, feel shame, and then make a plan, work a plan. And yeah, it's not ideal. Again, good, better, best. Best would have been to start May 1st, but good is starting today, or better is starting today. Good is just winging it, just being the Zen goalie and letting the pucks just hit you, man. Okay, see you.